Hi everybody, it's Karen McLaughlin here, certified personal trainer in Hamilton, Ontario. Here with you for my usual Tuesday at 2 Facebook Live broadcast. Today I'm going to be talking about just some quick tips on how to make healthy food preparation easier. And I know most people struggle with this because it's what I hear over and over again from not only my clients, but my friends and colleagues, and everybody's like, oh, it just takes so much time to eat healthier. And I'm not going to try and argue for the fact that it does take some time and effort. It absolutely does take some time and effort to eat healthy, but you're worth it. It's so important. And so what I want to talk to you about today is just some ways to make that a little bit easier, because there are ways to make it easier, and I want to help you break the takeout cycle if you're caught in that. I know it can be hard to get out of. People are so busy, they're scrambling around after work, they've got to get their kids to extracurricular activities. If you're one of those people, I feel for you. I lived that for many years. I'm kind of out of that cycle now, where my boys are now 17 and 19, and they're usually off working at dinner hour most of the time now. To be honest, I'm often here alone cooking, but I'm hoping that you're not, because my husband's a realtor, so he's showing houses, my kids are working, and I'm cooking. But that's okay, most of the time. Anyway, so I absolutely want to get you going on eating at home more, cooking for yourself more, if you're not already doing that, because you're worth more than a lean cuisine frozen dinner, trust me. So let's get going with some great tips. Number one, you've got to commit to this. And I know you're not going to be surprised to hear me say that if you've watched some of my other videos, because I pretty much always start out that way. But it's so true. You're never going to get anywhere until you commit to the idea, because you can't be wishy-washy, or you're just not going to follow through. I know this in my own life. I know it from working with other people. Unfortunately, Yoda's quoted a lot because he was right about this. You're either going to do it or you're not going to do it, so you got to make up your mind that you are going to do it. Okay? So get all in with the idea. Really, if you're not cooking a lot, if you're resorting to the takeout or prepackaged stuff you nuke up in the microwave real quick, it's a habit. It's just like anything else. We have good habits, we have bad habits, and not to sound overly virtuous, but I've raised 2 kids, and we had a busy family, a lot, extracurriculars, work, all kinds of stuff thrown in the mix, and I cooked either myself or my husband cooked a from scratch meal almost every night. It's very rare that we ever don't cook dinner. The odd special occasion, of course, or dinner out with friends, but we do it every night. It's an expectation in our house that, dinner is going to be cooked at home, it's going to be on the table. So, we were in the habit of doing it. Takeout, my brain never went to that as an option. It just wasn't, sometimes it wasn't financially an option, which was kind of a good thing because it stopped us from getting in the habit of doing it. And it just was never in my mind an option. We were, it doesn't have to be fancy. We got to get out of that mindset, the Martha Stewart mindset. Your home cooked dinner does not have to be fancy at all. It can be healthy, it can be simple, and it can be pretty quick. Okay. So, number 1, you're all in. Number 2, make it easier to make the right choice to get in the kitchen and cook. So if you've got issues with your kitchen work surfaces being really cluttered up with stuff that shouldn't even be in there, get all that out of there. Get the kids' papers out of there. Get whatever's not supposed to be in the kitchen. Find the right place for it to live and keep it there. okay? Because I know it's harder to get going if you can't just walk into the kitchen and start, if you've got to clean up a lot of stuff first. So keep it as clutter-free as possible, and make sure you've got the right equipment that you need to be successful at cooking. You know, if you don't have the right equipment, it is a drag. And you don't need to spend a lot of money. I am a super kitchen minimalist. I don't have anything fancy. I've got some basic pots and pans. I've got my three sizes of cast iron frying pan. Those are the only types of frying pans I have. Love them. And I've got a good set of knives. And that's, you know, aside from, you know, a few Pyrex baking dishes and casserole dishes and things like that, that is really all you need to get going. Don't get distracted. You don't need a rice cooker. You don't need a bread maker. You don't need any of that fancy pants stuff. If you don't already have it and you're not using it, don't get that. Just stick to the basics. Some good cutting boards. You're going to be chopping a lot. Okay, so make sure you've got the basics. Make it easy to get in there. Okay? So now I'm going to assume you're ready to go. Your kitchen is uncluttered enough you can walk in there and do stuff. You've got the right equipment to get going. For some people, those are two really big barriers. So if you're already there, you're ahead of the game. But if you need to work on those things, get that sorted out as soon as possible, because it can be a barrier. So the third thing is just to actually make it a habit. And like I already said, you know, if you are in the habit of not cooking and prepping food, if you're in the habit of either grabbing takeout or grabbing pre-made stuff from the hot counter at the deli at the grocery store, or, you know, frozen meals that you're nuking, if that's kind of where you're at, you just need to say, you know, enough is enough. I'm choosing to cook my own meals now. And it's even more important at this stage for you to plan, because you don't have that I know I should plan out my meals for the week. I very rarely do actually officially do that. But in the back of my head, it's always going, you know, this is what we have available, who needs to be where, who's going to be home to cook. I'm lucky enough now that I have two boys, 17 and 19, who are now taking responsibility for one night a week of cooking. So usually Thursday night is their night to cook, and so that's great. And let me tell you, I feel after years of being the primary chef in the household, Thursday night I feel like I've got so much more time because I'm not cooking. So I do understand, you know, it's a commitment, it is your time, but this is one of the most important things you can do both for yourself and for your family. If you can't make yourself do it for yourself, if you have a spouse or if you have children, do it for them, especially for the kids. If they see you cooking, like, I think it's one of the, you know, I've made my share of mistakes as a parent just like everybody else has, but one of the best things I think I've given my kids is they have seen me cook, and my husband too, so they know that guys cook. They've seen both of us cooking every day, and they know it's just part of our quote-unquote normal life. And, you know, they know we do lots of other stuff in a day too besides just cooking, but they've seen us cook, and they've seen us, like, we're the kind of crazy people who make, like, everything from scratch. You know, I make my own kombucha, I make my own yogurt, I made bread once or twice a week for many, many years. I don't eat very many greens anymore, so I don't make bread that much anymore, but my kids still like it when I make bread. Anyway, they've seen, you know, cooking is a normal part of life. So I think it's one of the, not only are you feeding your kids nutritious food when you're cooking at home, you are giving them that gift of seeing, you know, what that can be like and how that looks in a life and how to fit it in. And they're learning the skills. You know, now my boys are taking over the kitchen one night a week. And I tell people that and they're like, oh man, what are you having to put up with on the dinner table when they're cooking? I'm like, they can cook it almost as well as I can. Seriously. Because they've watched and they've helped me over the years, and they both have fantastic palates. They know how to taste, they know how to season. They can be a little creative. They know what spices go with what. So it's fantastic. So if you can't quite talk yourself into making this commitment just for you, you know, like I said, if you've got a spouse or kids, do it for them. If you need to do it for them at first to start, and then you're going to start feeling better once you start eating great stuff all the time too. And then it's just one of those virtuous cycles. I talked about the opposite of a vicious cycle. So it just feeds on itself in a positive way once you start, okay? So commit to making it a habit, and think about what you're going to do planning-wise. We're kind of, like every household I think has their staple food, go-to. I think the statistic is most households, both in North America and in Europe, have about 5 to 7 standard meals that they make that are their fallbacks, and they don't really get much variety outside of that. I think one of them is pizza and another one's spaghetti. I think that is common across both North America and Europe. So I'm not talking anything too exciting there, and you can do better than that, by the way, pizza and spaghetti, totally. So one of the strategies I use to try and, I'm feeding 4 adults in this house now. If any of you have ever had teenage boys, you know they can eat like crazy. You know, my sons are both over 6 feet tall. They're men, you know, and they eat a lot. So I know about volumes of food preparation. So one of the things we've always done for many years is to just add some extra food prep into whatever we're already doing. So while I'm actually cooking a meal or while we're cleaning up the dishes afterward, those are 2 really good times to add in a little bit of extra food preparation. So one example is we eat tons and tons and tons of roasted vegetables, especially during the cooler months of the year, and because I don't hardly eat any grains or anything like that anymore, we eat tons of roasted vegetables. I swear, I feel like I've roasted every vegetable known to mankind, although I know it's not quite true. Anyway, so if I'm already cooking something in the oven and I have it at a good, if I can cook it at the temperature that I need to roast vegetables, or if I'm already roasting 1 pan of vegetables for dinner, I'll roast an extra pan. Say I'm roasting potatoes for dinner, I might make like a mixed pan of roasted vegetables. I love doing sweet potatoes with pineapple and onion. Fantastic. And drizzled with a little bit of coconut oil, salt and pepper. You roast that, it's delicious. Or else I'll do sweet potatoes. If I don't have any pineapple, I'll do just some apple mixed in there. So that's like just a standard go-to kind of roasted vegetable mix we have hanging around in our fridge. Believe it or not, I eat that for breakfast a lot of the time because I'm not eating very many grains. And once you get past the mindset of what's supposed to be breakfast and what's not, it's actually really good as part of your breakfast. Anyway, so I'm roasting. I'm trying to make the most of my oven and my time. If I'm already chopping, got the cutting board and the knife and a whole bunch of vegetables out on the counter, I will just make an extra pan and throw them both in. That way you're saving time and energy and your oven use and it takes like 3 more minutes to chop up the extra pan and throw them in. It's really nothing. So just do it while you're already there. So that's a big one for us in our household. Another one that we've always done, we do make homemade granola, and that's so easy. Like, I know people are really intimidated by the idea of it, and holy cow, if you look at the price of a good quality granola, small batch store-bought stuff, whew, it's really expensive, and you can make your own for super cheap, and it's fantastic. It's easy. It takes us 5 minutes of hands-on time. So, and once you make it, if you make it every single week after week after week, you don't have to look at the recipe anymore. It's all in your head. And my basic granola recipe doesn't have that many ingredients either. So we're just throwing that together while we're washing the dishes after dinner. Because the one thing about the granola that is a little bit fiddly is it needs to bake for 30 minutes and you have to stir it every 10. So while we're already in the kitchen cleaning up is a perfect time to do it. Like I said, literally 5 minutes to get it in the oven, and then we're just washing the dishes, and every 10 minutes we turn around, pull out the granola pan, stir it, throw it back in, and it's done by the time we're finished cleaning up in there. So it's, try to just, it's kind of like the movement thing where I'm always talking about make the movement part of what you're already doing, instead of thinking about exercise as a special thing you got to add on to your day, you know, for half an hour. So kind of make this food prep stuff flow in with what you're already doing. And the more you get in the habit of it, the easier it seems. Like, it really just seems like literally nothing to throw together a batch of granola for us, or like a pan of vegetables. It's a habit now. Just do it. It's done. It's just a couple minutes. And because we're already in there, you know, you've already got the stuff dirty, so you might as well just keep going and make some more things. So look for those little ways that you can sort of just squeak some extra things in while you're already working in the kitchen. Then you have backup stuff that you can have for later. So another thing that we do a lot is batch cooking and batch prepping stuff. Now, I've never been one to, like, there's people who are super into, like, freezer meal cooking and, you know, like, spending an entire weekend making all their meals for the entire month and putting them in the freezer. That is totally not my thing. But if that sounds like a great idea to you, there's a few different books out there on how to do that. One that comes to mind is called Frozen Assets. I think there's several of those books in a series with under that name. So, you know, if that's something that sounds appealing to you, and you have a large freezer, and you don't have teenage boys who'll just go in there and help themselves to whatever's in there, and then you think you've got dinner and you don't, then it might work for you. It's not been my thing. So that's the great thing about this, is you can kind of find the ways to do this that work for you, because there's tons of different ways to get the job done here. You just want to make that food prep fit into your lifestyle somehow in a way that feels more convenient for you. One of the things that we do is we process things in batches. Like, I mean, canning is a great example of this, really. That's batch processing food for later, right? Canning salsa, canning jams, canning pickles, like, that's batch processing at its, you know, core. And so one thing that we do is we buy a lot of vegetables in bulk during the harvest season, and not necessarily just to can, but for example, red peppers is something that I love, and we use just tons and tons of them in our cooking. So what I do is in the fall around here, I can buy what's called a half case, which I think is sort of roughly half a bushel of sweet red peppers for like ridiculously cheap. So I wait for those to go on sale, and then my husband and I'll spend an hour, a couple hours probably in the kitchen chopping them up together. So you can use your food prep time as some connection time. My husband and I joke actually that probably over we've been married for 21 and a half years, I think. It's getting so long that I can't even remember. That sounds about right to me though. And we've joked, you know, that most of our significant conversation time has been while we've been in the kitchen working together. But it's great because we're just chopping or stirring or whatever and talking. You know, that's when you actually have time to have lengthy conversations with people instead of the ships passing in the night thing that goes on so much. Anyway, so what we do is we'll chop up all those peppers, and I'm just going to show, I pulled one out of the freezer here. So this is what it looks like. So I just have, this is the inner milk bag. So if any of my US friends are watching this, I don't even know whether you guys get milk in bags there. You have it in jugs, but this is like the bag this is the outer bag, obviously. This is the bag that the milk was actually in. And I save them and wash them out. And then it works great for packing. Like, I do roughly like 1 pepper in here, or I mean, if you like to have a specific amount in here. A lot of things, like I'll grate zucchini and I'll put like in either 1 cup or 2 cup portions in these bags, and then I just roll them up. I get them really flat, So then they're really easy to store in the freezer, and then I just put them in one of these big, whole whack of them in one of these big Ziplocs. And I know everybody's environmentally conscious. They're like, oh, plastic bags. Well, I'm reusing the milk bag, and these big Ziploc bags, they last for years. I wash them out again and again and again. I've had that one for probably years, okay? So, but then it's like there's a whole bag of red peppers in the freezer waiting to go. So it saves you so much time, and then not only you save money because you bought it in bulk, and now it's saved you a bunch of time because sure you invested the time into chopping, but doing it all at once is just, like I said, I usually make it just a good conversation time with my hubby, and we just stand there and chop and chat. Chop and chat, there you go. You can use that, you can put that in your calendar, chop and chat with DH. Anyway, sorry, I couldn't resist. It's fantastic though, because all winter when, let's face, like for me, like I'm feeling less motivated to do everything in the winter, so when I can just walk down to the freezer and grab a pack of peppers and chuck them in the frying pan, it's already chopped. I love myself for doing that. And that's how you can speed it up for those times when you are more time crunched, is by taking time when you do have some. So there's that kind of batch processing with vegetables. You can do batch cooking of things that your family eats in large amounts. Like you can, like I have this one soup recipe. Actually, it's in my book that I have here. Yay! A little plug. This is my book. I'm gonna put the Amazon link under the video, but just wanted to show you guys because I do have a few really good quick recipes in there, and the cabbage and beef soup that's in there is really awesome because it makes a ton, and then you can freeze that in portions if you want. I don't tend to do full meals so much in batches. It's just never been my thing, and because we have a smaller freezer, to be honest, and so I sort of prioritize what I might make a meal the day ahead and just check it in the fridge if I know I'm having a busy day coming up that I won't have time to cook that day. So that's one approach. As you know, like on Saturday or Sunday, if you can do a couple extra meals, if you do have more time on the weekend. I know some of you don't. I know some of you are driving your kids all over the place all weekend. So, but for those of you that do, take advantage of the weekend time to set the stage for time savings during the busier part of the week. And things like meatballs, we eat a ton of meatballs, so, because that's part of my breakfast too. Meatballs and roasted vegetables, yay, it's good. So anyways, I buy usually like a couple pounds of meat at a time, or else if I have bulk purchased meat, I'll cook up a couple of pounds worth of meatballs at a time rather than just a small batch. I mean, you could go crazy and do 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 pounds at a time and then freeze them after you've cooked them. I usually just do enough that it lasts for a week or so in the fridge. So those are just some examples of how you could batch cook, and you have to take a look at what, you know, maybe the things that I'm eating aren't the things that you find particularly appealing, but to look at, you know, I really wish I liked hard-boiled eggs. I really don't. I love omelets. That's one of my go-tos. I'm going to mention that again in a minute, but I just can't stand hard-boiled eggs. But if you do like them, I wish I did, because you can boil up a whole whack of them. They keep great in the fridge. They're such an easy grab and go awesome protein source. So trust me, I wish I loved them. I don't. But if you do, please, you know, batch cook those too. Any kind of chopping and prepping that you can do in advance of any type of veggies, cooking meat in advance. You know, I know some people who will cook like several pounds of meat on the weekend so they don't have to cook their meat during the week. Sorry, vegetarians. You can cook your dried beans. There's another one. And I just did that yesterday, so I don't know why it didn't come to mind. But I buy my beans dried, and then I just batch cook them. And people think it takes so long, but honestly, let me tell you, I was gonna cop out and just buy canned beans. I'd already had in my head we're having chili for dinner, and this is one of my go-tos that's really quick because I knew I wasn't gonna feel like anything elaborate yesterday. And I was sure that I still had some beans down in the freezer in my good old Ziploc bags. And my brain actually has the best, most accurate inventory in my head of what we've got, but I was wrong. Or either that or they're just buried at the very bottom of the freezer. Could not find them. And thought, crap! So I had to go to the grocery store anyway. I thought, I'll just bite the bullet and buy a couple cans of beans, which I never do because I always buy dried. They're way cheaper and I cook them. Anyway, do you think they had freaking canned black beans at the grocery store that I was at? No, there was like 9 different brands of beans and they did not have any black ones. I was like, what is up with this? I hate kidney beans. I have like several kinds. I'm like, ugh, yuck. So I'm into the black bean chili. Anyway, so long story short, it's already 4 o'clock in the afternoon and I'm like, crap. And so I grabbed the pack of dried beans. I put it on as soon as I got home. Because one of the things I learned from a chef was that you don't actually have to soak them. And I know some people do prefer to soak them and that it does seem to take like some of the gassiness out. But he told me he doesn't even do like that quick soak method. He just throws them in the water and then turns it right on to boil and cooks them. And I've done that several times now and it seems to work just fine. So I cooked those beans. They were ready. I started at 4 and I was making dinner at like 6 and they were good to go. So even on the fly, you can still do these things. So beans are another great example. Cooking them from dried and then freezing them. I do them the exact same way I just showed you with the peppers. I do 1.5 cups of beans in each of my little baggies because that's roughly a can of beans. And then I freeze them and then they're ready to go. So I can make a batch of chili. I've got my peppers already chopped. I've got my black beans cooked and bagged up. I can make a batch of chili so fast because I've just got to basically chop up an onion and some garlic, throw it in the pan, throw my beef in the pan, let it simmer, and throw in the bag of peppers, and then chuck in the rest. The rest of the ingredients are simple, some crushed tomatoes and spices and stuff. It's so fast. So that's the other thing I'm going to suggest is that you make sure to have a few good go-to meals that you can put together really quick, that you always have the ingredients for, unless of course your little brain mental inventory is wrong like mine was yesterday. Anyway, so the black bean chili I love, and my black bean chili recipe is in my book. A couple other ones from the book that are absolute staples in our house is the chicken and vegetable coconut curry, which is delicious. It's so fast. You can sub in, like if you don't have the vegetables it calls for in there, just put whatever you got in. I make it with turkey all the time instead of chicken. It's great with chickpeas if you don't eat meat or you don't have any meat in the house. And it comes together so quickly. My kids can make that. It's super simple. Omelets, if you're really desperate, like the omelet is my go-to. I've got to have something put together in 5 minutes meal because eggs are super nutritious. And I'm going to put in a plug for buy the best eggs you can afford because the better ones really are better. I'm really lucky that I've managed to find small farmers to buy them direct from for a good price, so I don't have to pay $6.50 a dozen for my eggs, and I still get really good ones. But from chickens that are hugged daily, I'm just kidding a little bit, but actually the farmer we're getting from now says his kids do hug the chickens often. So anyway, a better quality egg is a better egg. You're getting more omega-3s, and once you've had a good egg, it's hard to go back to crappy eggs. But if crappy eggs are all you got, they're still a really good protein source. And you can do stuff with them so fast, right? So omelet, and you can throw your, I'm all for the avocado in my omelet. I think I have to talk about avocado sometime, just a whole session on avocados, because they're amazing. Anyway, you can throw cheese in there if you're a dairy person. If you're not, then whatever else floats your boat. Salsa. I don't really like tomatoes and eggs together, but I think I'm weird like that. Some people really love it. So anyway, you've pretty much always got something around you can throw in an omelet, I think, unless your fridge is really bare. So that's why they're my go-to on those nights when I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm so crunched. Either like you're exhausted, you're sick, or you just have like really no time and all your batch cooking is depleted, so it's my like emergency meal when there's really nothing else. But it's still super nutritious. I mean, while your omelet's cooking, slice up whatever vegetables or fruits you've got lying around, and you've still got a pretty decently balanced meal. It's going to beat, let's face it, anything that you can get in takeout, hands down, nutrition-wise and cost-wise. So it's a win. So don't feel bad about the nights you have to do that. It's still way better than copping out with the frozen dinners or the takeout stuff, okay? And I know there was a couple other things I was going to mention. So I talked about the curry and the chili. Oh, there's another recipe in here, spicy chickpeas and potatoes, which is another one that comes together really quickly. And you can put, I've made it with like shredded chicken or something like that if you don't want to use chickpeas or legumes. It's just another simple recipe, basic staples that you always have around. A little bit of chopping, and it just simmers up in the pan really quickly. So there's tons and tons of things you can do. The key is here, I think if you can sense an underlying theme, is that you've just got to do something to be a bit prepared before you can actually implement any of these strategies. So you gotta, like I said, make sure your space is clean enough that you can walk into the kitchen and start cooking without having to move a bunch of crap out of the way. Make sure you've got the right equipment. Keep it simple, but you gotta have the basics or you're never going to get the job done. Did I mention I don't even have a microwave? I meant to throw that in just to throw you guys for a bit of a loop, but we haven't had a microwave for like, I think, probably 10 years. So I can't even like resort to nuking anything because I don't have one. And we have survived. So yeah, you don't need a microwave. Batch cook stuff, just, you gotta, like I said, it's so similar to the movement. You've just gotta find ways to like throw a little bit in here and there and make it part of your life. And once you get rolling with it, it's pretty straightforward. And don't beat yourself up if it doesn't come right away, but every time you hit a wall, then you realize what's not working and maybe what you can change a little bit. But I do want to challenge you, like, don't just tell me I don't have time. We all have the same 24 hours in a day, and I know some people's lives are just more challenging. I hear you, but please, like, think about where you are. Like, come on, if you don't have time to cook a meal, you probably shouldn't even be maybe on Facebook watching me do this video, but maybe you can watch it while you're cooking. We need to rethink our priorities here. Eating good food should be way up there. So please, if you need to cut out a bit of TV time so you can do some food prep, maybe that's one thing you need to think about doing. You don't need to watch 4 hours of TV a day. I think I've watched 4 hours of TV like this entire year because my kids made me, maybe a few more, maybe 6, because my kids made me binge watch this one series on Netflix, but it was like only a really short series. So, food is more important than television. So take the time, figure out what's got to give so that you can do this. And, you're still going to have the busy days. It's okay. Take some time on the days that are less busy. Make this social if you have to. Don't think of it as something that's like in isolation. So, chop and chat with my hubby, but bring the kids in with you as well, because it's so important to get them learning about this stuff. So you can have some great time, like really good time, that good old quality time. I kind of hate that phrase, but it's like really good connecting time with your kids, doing meal prep together. So get the kids in there, cook with your hubby if you're home at the same time. That doesn't happen that often for me anymore, so I really enjoy it when we can do that. Bring the whole family in there, get everybody going on this. Don't just make it mom's job. And that's like a really huge piece of the puzzle too, is just, and I'm sorry for you single people, but so if you have family, bring them in, and once your kids are, the kids don't even have, as long as they can stand up, they can start doing stuff, whether it's just ripping up lettuce for the salad when they're real young, get them in there with you. For the single folks or other, non-single folks too, cook with your friends. Maybe you need to do ladies' batch cooking on the weekend. Just be creative and do whatever works for you. You have to make the commitment, though, to be prepared to eat well all week long. So whenever the times are that you have that are a little less crazy, think about what you can do. Slide all those little things in, like I talked about earlier, making that granola while we're cleaning up the kitchen. These things, or the roasted vegetables, it takes just no time at all once you're in the groove with it. And I know you can do it. So I think that's all I'm going to say, because I've said a lot. And I always say too much. So I hope I gave you some tips that are helpful. If you're still feeling like you're struggling with this concept and you need some help, let me know. Leave me some comments down below. If you're having specific challenges, maybe I can help you out. But I hope I've given you a variety of ideas to get you started. And I'll throw the link to my book down below too, just for anybody who might be interested. And I think that is it for today. So, like I said, always comments can go below. You can private message me if you don't want to leave a public comment, or you can email me at yourfitnessgroove@gmail.com. Okay, so get out there and get cooking, people, and let me know how it goes for you. I always, do these videos, and then I love to hear feedback on anything you got out of it, whether you were able to make some changes. So that kind of stuff I live for, so let me hear how it goes for you. Okay, thanks a lot, guys, and I will see you. Oh, one final thing. I know I was going to forget to mention this. Anybody who's local, who's watching, tomorrow, Wednesday, March the 8th, is our next Women Wandering in the Woods. So anybody in the Hamilton area, if you want to join us, if you're a woman, children and dogs welcome, as long as they're relatively well behaved. You can either search for that on Facebook. I'll actually I'll put the link to the event page below. That will be the easiest thing for you. But it's 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, the Ravine Road Trail beside Churchill Park. Okay, guys? So that's it for this week. I think I'm officially going to sign off now. Have a great week, guys, and I'll see you next Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern. And as always, if there's anything you would prefer for me to talk about during this time, please let me know, because I'm always open to ideas. I want to help you guys, so I need to know what you're struggling with, and otherwise I'm just guessing. So please feel free to give me suggestions. All right, take it easy and see you next week. Bye.